This is today's Bible reading. Book of Mark 5:21 through 43. Faith born in desperation. Now when Jesus had crossed over again by boat to the other side, a great multitude gathered to him, and he was by the sea. And behold, one of the rulers of the synagogue came, Jairus by name, and when he saw him, he fell at his feet and begged him earnestly, saying, My little daughter lies at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, that she may be healed, and she will live. So Jesus went with him, and a great multitude followed him and thronged him. Now a certain woman had a flow of blood for 12 years, and had suffered many things from many physicians. She had spent all that she had and was no better, but rather grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, If only I may touch his clothes, I shall be made well. Immediately the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. And Jesus immediately, knowing in himself that power had gone out of him, turned around in the crowd and said, Who touched my clothes? But his disciples said to him, You see the multitude thronging you, and you say, Who touched me? And he looked around to see her who had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction. While he was still speaking, some came from the ruler of the synagogue's house, who said, Your daughter is dead. Who troubled the teacher any further? As soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he said to the ruler of the synagogue, Do not be afraid, only believe. And he permitted no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. Then he came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue and saw a tumult and those who wept and wailed loudly. When he came in, he said to them, Why make this commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping. And they ridiculed him. But when he had put them all outside, he took the father and the mother of the child and those who were with him, and entered where the child was lying. Then he took the child by the hand and said to her, Talitha cumi, which is translated, Little girl, I say to you, arise. Immediately the girl arose and walked, for she was 12 years old age, and they were overcome with a great amazement. But he commanded them strictly that no one should know it, and said that something should be given her to eat. Now the book of Luke, chapter 8, 40 through 56. Healing a hemorrhage and restoring life. So it was when Jesus returned that the multitude welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him. And behold, there came a man named Jairus, and he was a ruler of the synagogue. And he fell down at Jesus' feet and begged him to come to his house, for he had an only daughter about 12 years of age, and she was dying. But as he went, the multitudes thronged him. Now a woman having a flow of blood for 12 years, who had spent all her livelihood on physicians and could not be healed by any, came from behind and touched the border of his garment. And immediately her flow of blood stopped. And Jesus said, Who touched me? When all denied it, Peter and those with him said, Master, the multitudes throng and press you, and you say, Who touched me? But Jesus said, Somebody touched me, for I perceived the power going out from me. Now when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared to him in the presence of all the people the reason she had touched him and how she was healed immediately. And he said to her, Daughter, be of good cheer. Your faith has made you well. Go in peace. While he was still speaking, someone came from the ruler of the synagogue's house, saying to him, Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher. But when Jesus heard it, he answered him, saying, "Do not be afraid, only believe, and shall be made well." When he came into the house, he permitted no one to go in except Peter, James, and John, the father and mother of the girl. Now all wept and mourned for her, but he said, "Do not weep. She is not dead, but sleeping." And they ridiculed him, knowing that she was dead. But he put them all outside, took her by the hand, and called, saying, "Little girl, arise." Then her spirit returned, and she arose immediately. And he commanded that she be given something to eat. And her parents were astonished, but he charged them to tell no one what had happened. Scandalous faith. Luke 8:43-44. The rationale behind some of Israel's laws is not always clear to us. So it is with legislation governing the uncleanliness of bloody discharges from the body. According to the law of Moses, a flow of blood rendered a woman ceremonially unclean and communicated uncleanness to anyone she touched. The woman Jesus encountered had experienced a continual flow of blood, not simply a monthly discharge, that most likely forced her to remain single. If the problem started after her marriage, it probably led her husband to divorce her. In her case, ceremonial uncleanness made her an outcast of her society. Since she had had the problem for 12 years, much of her life had been consumed by this illness. Because many people died in their 40s, her problem probably began sometime after puberty. She may have felt like half her adult life was already lost. Furthermore, in a culture where women remained economically dependent on men, this woman's disease had exhausted her livelihood. She was desperate, so desperate that she would allow nothing to deter her from Jesus. Anyone this woman touched would be rendered unclean, so it was scandalous for her to press her way to Jesus through the crowd. Even touching Jesus' garment would make him unclean. If she was going to touch him, she must do so without announcing her intentions. Once the woman was healed, Jesus was unashamed to be identified publicly with her hardship. His greater concern was that she, as well as those looking on, should realize that her faith was the source of the healing. Jesus' power, unlike that of some other proclaimed wonder works of his day, was not simply magic. Transition, rejection at Nazareth. Even at the midpoint of his Galilean ministry, Jesus continued to be met with resistance and unbelief in his hometown of Nazareth. Mark once again closely connects Jesus' miracles and his teachings. The people wondered what wisdom Jesus possessed to be able to perform such mighty works. Matthew characteristically maintains more of a distinction between teaching and miracles, speaking of them individually. This wisdom and these mighty works, being attracted to Jesus' miraculous works, is not sufficient to make one a true disciple of his. Faith, for Matthew, is crucial, and the limited miracles performed in Nazareth are directly attributed to the people's unbelief. Now the book of Matthew, chapter 13, 53 through 58. Jesus rejected. Now it came to pass, when Jesus had finished these parables, that he departed from there. When he had come to his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, so that they were astonished and said, "Where did this man get this wisdom and these mighty works? Is this not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? And his brothers James, Joses, Simon, and Judas? And his sisters, are they not all with us? Where then did this man get all these things?" So they were offended at him. But Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor, except in his own country and in his own house." Now he did not do many mighty works there because of their unbelief. Now, book of Mark, chapter 6, 1 through 6. Without honor in his own country. Then he went out from there and came to his own country, and his disciples followed him. And when the Sabbath had come, he began to teach in the synagogue. And many hearing him were astonished, saying, Where did this man get these things? And what wisdom is this which is given to him, that such mighty works are performed by his hands? Is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us? So they were offended at him. But Jesus said to them, A prophet is not without honor except in his own country, among his own relatives, and in his own house. Now he could do no mighty work there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick people and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. Then he went about the villages in a circuit, teaching. Transition: Jesus' second visit to Jerusalem. According to John's Gospel, Jesus returned to Jerusalem to attend a pilgrimage feast. During this visit, he healed a lame man at the pool of Bethesda. When, at Jesus' instruction, the man carried his bed away from the pool, he came into violation of the Sabbath prohibition against work. Jesus defended his healing works by associating them with those of his Father. But the opposition from the Jewish religious authorities only continued to mount. Not only had Jesus broken the Sabbath, but now he had also said that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. John records Jesus' extended defense of his special relationship with the Father and of the witnesses that testified to that relationship. It is impossible to identify the feast of the Jews, which forms the setting for this healing account. It could have been Pentecost. John explicitly identified Passover as the occasion for Jesus' previous pilgrimage. And Pentecost is the next feast after the combined festival of Passover and unleavened bread. Furthermore, the feast of Pentecost was traditionally associated with the giving of the law to Moses at Mount Sinai. Thus, Jesus' allusions to the writings of Moses were possibly prompted by the occasion of Pentecost. Jesus' first Jerusalem pilgrimage might be dated to the spring Passover celebration of AD 27. This second pilgrimage could represent the Pentecost occurring only several weeks later, or be understood as Pentecost of the following year, early summer of AD 28. On the other hand, it could have been Passover of spring, AD 28, or the Feast of Tabernacles in the fall, AD 28. Now, Book of John, chapter 5. A man healed at the pool of Bethesda. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first, after the stirring of the water, was made well of whatever disease he had. Now a certain man was there who had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, and knew that he already had been in that condition a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I am coming, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." And immediately the man was made well, took up his bed and walked. And that day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said to him who was cured, "It is the Sabbath. It is not lawful for you to carry your bed." He answered them, "He who made well said to me, 'Take up your bed and walk.'" Then they asked him, "Who is the man who said to you, 'Take up your bed and walk'?" but the one who was healed did not know who it was. For Jesus had withdrawn, a multitude being in that place. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "See, you have been made well. Sin no more, lest the worst thing come upon you." The man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. Honor the Father and the Son. For this reason the Jews persecuted Jesus and sought to kill him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered them, "My Father has been working until now, and I have been working." Therefore the Jews sought all the more to kill him, because he not only broke the Sabbath, but also said that God was with his Father, making himself equal with God. Then Jesus answered and said to them, Most assuredly I say to you, and the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he sees the Father do. For whatever he does, the Son also does in like manner. For the Father loves the Son and shows him all things that he himself does, and he will show him greater works than these, that you may marvel. For as the Father raises the dead and gives life to them, even so the Son gives life to whom he will. For the Father judges no one, but has committed all judgment to the Son, that all should honor the Son just as they honor the Father. He who does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him. Life and judgment are through the Son. Most assuredly I say to you, he who hears my word and believes in him who sent me has everlasting life, and shall not come into judgment, but has passed from death into life. Most assuredly I say to you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. For as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son to have life in himself, and has given him authority to execute judgment. Also, because he is the Son of Man. Do not marvel at this, for the hour is coming, in which all who are in the graves will hear his voice, and come forth those who have done good to the resurrection of life, and those who have done evil to the resurrection of condemnation. I can of myself do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is righteous, because I do not seek my own will, but the will of the Father who sent me. The fourfold witness. If I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true. There is another who bears witness of me, and I know that the witness which he witnesses of me is true. You have sent to John, and he has borne witness to the truth. Yet I do not receive testimony from man, but I say these things that you may be saved. He was the burning and shining lamp, and you were willing for a time to rejoice in his light. But I have a greater witness than John's, for the works which the Father has given me to finish. The very works that I do bear witness of me, that the Father has sent me, and the Father himself who sent me has testified of me. You have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his form, but you do not have his word abiding in you, because whom he sent, him you do not believe. You search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and these are they which testify of me. But you are not willing to come to me that you may have life. I do not receive honor from man, but I know you, that you do not have the love of God in you. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If another comes in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe who receive honor from one another, and do not seek the honor that comes from the only God? Do not think that I shall accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, Moses, in whom you trust. For if you believed Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words? The pool of Bethesda, John 5:2. John's gospel mentions a pool that was known in Hebrew as Bethesda, or as listed in some manuscripts, Bethzatha, John 5:2. The exact site of the pole has not been determined, although one of the Dead Sea Scrolls indicates that people who visited Jerusalem in Jesus' day knew where it was. The 5 porches of Bethsaida have led to comparisons with the porticos or porches of the ancient twin pools archaeologists found under St. Anne's Monastery in Jerusalem. Well, I've been there. Porches ran along all 4 sides of the pools, plus 1 through the center, dividing them. In the vicinity of the pools, archaeologists discovered a votive offering that looks just like what pagans offered to gods at healing sanctuaries. If Bethsaida is the same site as these twin pools, it continued to be used for healing long after Jesus' day. Regardless of whether the twin pools represent the actual site of the pool of Bethsaida, the lame man's hope in the pool resembles the practices of surrounding cultures. Many people in antiquity went to healing sanctuaries, which often included a pool, to seek healing from gods like Asclepius or Apollo. Likewise, the lame man was probably hoping for an angel to heal him. The statement about the angel stirring the waters is missing in many early Greek manuscripts of John's Gospel, but may reflect an early tradition or local customs related to the pool. The man was no doubt weak and hopeless after 38 years of confinement and affliction. Jesus, unlike the water of the pool, offered him real healing. Transition, mission of the 12. Mark and Luke treat the mission of the 12 disciples during Jesus' Galilean ministry in summary fashion. Matthew, on the other hand, was especially interested in the mission of the church, and so devotes considerable attention to Jesus' instructions to his disciples regarding their mission. Jesus' instruction on mission is the second of Matthew's 5 major teaching sections. Matthew presents the disciples' mission as an extension of Jesus' own continuing ministry. Jesus' compassion for people and his prayer that God would send out laborers introduces the episode. During the disciples' mission, Jesus actively continued his own ministry, whereas Mark and Luke listed the names of the 12 apostles much earlier in their accounts of Jesus' ministry. Matthew reserves the listing until this occasion. Now the book of Matthew, chapter 9, 35 through 11:1, the compassion of Jesus. Then Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion for them, because they were weary and scattered, like sheep having no shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest truly is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." Now the book of Matthew, chapter 10, the 12 apostles. And when he had called his 12 disciples to him, he gave them power over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all kinds of sickness and all kinds of disease. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these. First, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus, the Lebbaeus, whose surname was Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. Sending out the 12. These 12 Jesus sent out and commanded them, saying, "Do not go into the way of the Gentiles, and do not enter the city of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand." Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. Provide neither gold, nor silver, nor copper in your money belts, nor a bag for your journey, nor 2 tunics, nor sandals, nor staffs, for a worker is worthy of his food. Now whatever city or town you enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and stay there till you go out. And when you go into a household, greet it. If the household is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. And whoever will not receive you, nor hear your words, when you depart from that house or city, shake off the dust from your feet. Assuredly, I say to you, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Persecutions are coming. Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to councils and scourge you in their synagogues. You will be brought before governors and kings for my sake, as a testimony to them and to the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, do not worry about how or what you should speak, for it will be given to you in that hour what you should speak. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father who speaks in you. Now brother will deliver up brother to death, and the father his child, and children will rise up against parents and cause them to be put to death. And you will be hated by all for my name's sake, but he who endures to the end will be saved. When they persecute you in this city, flee to another. For surely I say to you, you will not have gone through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man comes. A disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for a disciple that he be like his teacher, and a servant like his master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more will they call those of his household? Therefore do not fear them, for there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known. Jesus teaches the fear of God. Whatever I tell you in the dark, speak in the light, and what you hear in the ear, preach on the housetops. And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a copper coin, and not one of them falls to the ground apart from your Father's will? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Do not fear, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. Confess Christ before men. Therefore, whoever confesses me before men, him I will also confess before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, him I will also deny before my Father who is in heaven. Christ brings division. Do not think that I came to bring peace on earth. I do not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it. A cup of cold water. He who receives you receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. He who receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he who receives a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. And whoever gives one of these little ones only a cup of cold water in the name of a disciple, assuredly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. Now it came to pass, when Jesus finished commanding his 12 disciples, that he departed from there to teach and to preach in their cities. Amen. This is the end of the Bible reading today. Thank you for joining me. Have a good day. God bless you. And see you tomorrow.